going to kick us off today with a few housekeeping items. First off, thanks to everyone who responded in the chat about where you're from. Looks like we have people all over the place. We have an international audience today, as well as some people who are local in the Twin Cities, where I am joined by Dr. Michael Allen, who will speak in a few minutes, and as well as Christine Aller, who will be helping to answer some questions on the chat today. So it looks like our poll indicates that most of you are instructional designers. That's what your role would be described as. And welcome to everyone. No matter your role, we're really excited to have you here today. Okay, so if you would, I think the first thing we do is we're just going to go through a couple housekeeping items. So if you still have that poll up, you can go ahead and minimize it, or we can dismiss it at this point. The main thing I want to do is just let you know that our time block is for 30 minutes today, so we're going to do a short presentation, give you the most important details about the newly announced Allen Academy. We are going to have an extended session of Q&A afterwards, so we will answer a few questions throughout the half-an-hour session, and then we'll stick around for another 15-20 minutes afterwards. For those of you who want to stay and ask some more detailed questions, we'll be happy to answer those at that time. Now for Q&A at this meeting, seems like many of you have already, back one slide please. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. For Q&A for today's meeting, we will be using the chat function in Zoom, and I know many of you have already discovered that and you're already using it to share your greeting messages. If you have questions for any of the panelists today about the Allen Academy, just go ahead and type your messages into chat. Christine and I will do our best to answer them directly, and then if we have ones that seem like they'd be great opportunities to have the rest of our panelists, including Dr. Allen, Ethan, and Nan, if it'd be best if they speak to those questions, Christine and I will queue those up towards, and we'll bring those up to the panelists so they can speak directly to them. Now, you'll also find that the Q&A panel, you can see the little screenshot in the bottom right of the slide right now. You can see that the chat button allows you to talk to just the panelists or to a certain panelist or to all panelists and attendees. And you can use whatever you're comfortable with. But definitely appreciate getting the questions from you, and we're really looking forward to the discussion. So let's test it out really quickly. If you haven't had a chance to use the chat yet, please share share a welcome message. Tell us where you're from in the chat right now, just to make sure that everyone has a good handle on it. Okay, let's try to pop those notes into Zoom chat. Hello. Okay, see notes from Mary and from Gemma. All right, from Madison, Wisconsin, we're neighbors. Austin, Texas. Great. Okay, so it seems like those of you who hadn't gotten into the chat yet are getting the handle on it. Definitely let us know if you have any problems with that. Okay. Now, I'm excited to share the stage here this afternoon with Dr. Michael Allen, who is going to start talking a little bit about the Allen Academy and why we're all so excited about it. Thanks, Ellen. And thanks for joining us today. I'm really excited about our announcement of the Allen Academy. It is a profession, building effective instruction, and yet not so many people recognize it as a profession, and many people just get thrown into the responsibilities for developing and delivering training programs with fear and trepidation because they don't really have a background for it. I have told the story many times. I'll tell you very quickly. I was invited by a large corporation to do a 3-day webinar on advanced notions of instructional design. And about halfway through the third day, in a room that was so large with a balcony and lights that I couldn't see most of the people that were in the audience that I was speaking to, someone from the balcony shouted out, "I have a question." I said, "Great, what's your question?" And the voice from the darkness said, "You probably don't know, but as of Friday of last week, all of us had business cards that said software engineer. And today we all have business cards that say instructional designer. So are you going to tell us just how to do that?" Oh my gosh! People really think it's just something that you do intuitively, and yet we know many things that make intuitive sense about teaching and learning
go contrary to what experienced people know and researchers know and so on. And so as so many people have gotten into our field, it seems like the profession has been watered down. And I've been looking at all the programs that are out there, and many of them are just teaching legacy concepts. You know, we don't build today airplanes like we did 20 years ago. How come we're thinking that training development should be done the same way it was done 20 years ago? There are really new standards and there are new opportunities, and I have to say it's not really as hard as you might think to develop really great training if you know what you're doing, if you know how to get there. It's a lot easier. And so we've been working on outreach for many years. As some of you know, we've been teaching workshops all around the world and as many offerings as we could manage. And we've decided that we just would like to share more. So we are setting out to try to raise the standards and hope that everyone will come along with us in this journey. So that the skills that are needed that we're going to be supporting and teaching span from basic design through implementation and evaluation and even executive level leadership, so that those people will know the most important concepts, they will know excellence when they see it, they will know how to support the training team. And then we feel that it's so important to recognize people who have developed those skills as professionals, and so we're working to give credentials to people that you can proudly post by your name as people who have really learned contemporary skills and are ready to help. So it's a big undertaking for us, and we have a lot of work to do, and we are working really hard on it. The first program matches the profile of the majority of people that are actually in attendance today, which is for instructional design and development. And in each of these colleges, there are programs and multiple courses to help people round out their skills and get themselves to a level of confident performance. So it includes also CLO, learning executive leadership, and game design, which is so important and exciting today, the great things that we can do with the technology and single and multiple player games. Fantastic opportunities that we didn't have just a few years ago. And then the really important but so often overlooked is business and learning impact measurement, the techniques for finding out how well programs are working and closing that feedback loop so that we can continuously improve the instructional programs that we're putting out there. So this is exciting. I mean, we are, as you probably know, really, really passionate about great learning events and love to see creative work done that benefits every learner. No learner gets a refund of their time, so if we waste their time, it's lost for them forever. That's why we have so much responsibility to do a good job. And so we really hope that many of you will get on board with this program and help inspire a new wave of our profession. So I'm really excited today that we have a few of the faculty members that will be teaching the first courses, Ethan Edwards, Dr. Nan Thornton, and Ellen Burns-Johnson. And each one of them are going to speak a little bit today about the programs and be here to answer your questions. So, without taking more time, Ethan, take it away.
Okay, well, thank you, Michael. Well, as Michael said, it's just such a thrill and a pleasure to be here to introduce this academy. It's something we've had our interest in for a long time, and we have decided that the time has come that the industry needs this, and our efforts that we've always had to share expertise is another area where we can really expand our impact and improve the profession. And so our first effort, colloquial, I shouldn't have said that word without practicing it, is, we want to step up your e-learning designs. And in a sense, that's really what all of us who are in that category of e-learning developers and designers are seeking to do. And so our first out-of-the-box experience is what we're offering as an Allen Certified Instructional Professional. And it is in that Instructional Design College. And it really focuses on how someone who is earnestly hoping to do a good job of creating some e-learning can get the right tools and perspectives and experiences to make that happen. My dear friend Nan is going to tell us a little bit about what are sort of the special features here of that process that we're looking to create for you.
Thanks, Ethan. Hi, everybody. This is Nan. We're really excited about this because of where we think it fits, and I think it fills a need that hasn't been filled, and that is, how do you make that connection between understanding what good e-learning design is and then being able to build it? We've taught lots of people how to understand good design, and then we've kind of turned them loose and assumed that they could apply it in their jobs. And that's been the missing piece. So what we want to do is help you understand good e-learning design, know how to create a good interaction, and then be able to build it in your authoring software. So we've got a combination of learning theory, instructional design techniques, and performance analysis and so on. And then we're going to help you connect that design to actually building it in software, such as Storyline or Captivate. And so you'll have a chance to really make that connection and apply those skills. And the way we envision these courses is that you'll have a chance to practice, to do some problem-solving activities, and then you'll be able to integrate the new techniques with an actual work project. So you're not just dealing with topics that we assign to you, you're going to bring in something that you have to do for work to be able to bring these techniques to bear and get feedback and guidance from us. So it's really a good long sequence of contact that we have. I think that's one thing that sets this academy apart.
Yeah, and our efforts, I think, to integrate that all together. The thing that I've often noted, and people say, well, I've taken Storyline and Captivate training, and the problem is the essential training for those tools, which is necessary, but incomplete. It sort of teaches you how to create something you never should create. It helps you create PowerPoints with interspersed questions. And those tools can do so much more than that, but it's sort of left as a mystery. And so what we're really hoping to do in this program is to meld really powerful design ideas with the ability to actually implement it.
Well said, Ethan. I can definitely just underscore what you've said. We're going to fill in that missing piece, and we'll help you actually use the software to make good e-learning, not to make the bad, ineffective e-learning that some of those software programs make so easy.
Right. So this first program consists of 4 courses. There'll be a very great introduction and development of what we mean by interactivity. And notice this is not instructional design. It's more than that. It's interactivity design. So much of instructional design seems to be about how to write questions and how to write content. Those are important, but it's really designing the experience that engages a learner and creates the possibility for change that's important. And that's really what we are focused on in that first class, is to really shift the framework for what makes good e-learning. And then following that will be a hands-on course where we actually learn how to implement that using tools. We're planning at first, at least, to be doing Storyline and Captivate as various cohorts, and to make sure that this connects with the tools that people are using. And then we'll follow that with an elevated design course that really focuses on special issues that face e-learning developers in creating good solutions. And then finally, the last piece is the capstone, which is a individual project and coaching experience that really helps you apply what we've learned specifically to your own work. So that's the overview, and I just want to take a few moments. Nan and I will give a little better snapshot of each of those experiences. So the first is designing interactivity. This is what we call a foundation course for all Academy programs, and it really is about what we call learner-centered design and understanding the whole idea of instructional interactivity. And this is going to be both a theoretical course and with plenty of time to apply it in group settings in your teams. But some of the things that we will be talking about is really figuring out how to create meaningful instructional context. If any of you have heard Michael or me or many of us from Allen Interactions talk, no doubt you have been exposed to this context challenge activity and feedback model. And we are going to really pull that apart and explore it and help you understand how integral each of those components is to creating good interactions. And so, the whole idea of creating context, it creates meaning, that puts information into a known context, making sure that there are challenges that have an emotional pull that really draw the learner in to solve a problem rather than just to get finished. Figuring out how to use the somewhat limiting features of working on a computer to really create behavior outcomes so that we're not just clicking buttons, but that you feel like you're taking actions that solve real problems, and then using feedback in such a powerful way that you can't help but learn. And another way I call this is creating irresistible learning. If we can create activities that people are compelled to finish, that's what we need to do. And that's what this whole experience is about. We're going to look at a lot of examples and have a lot of time to apply these same ideas within projects in the course. Happily, we have the great opportunity to launch this first program in cooperation with Training Magazine's Tech Learn Conference, which is going to be held in September in New Orleans. And so it'll be a 2-day live class for this first outing. And so you can take that class either as part of your attendance, you can enroll as an add-on to your overall conference attendance, or you can just go and take that class on its own. But we are just so excited to have that date as the launch time for our first program. So that's the first experience that is really trying to set the stage for what good interactivity needs to be. And that's going to be followed up with building instructional interactions. So Nan, you want to talk a bit about that approach?
Yes, definitely. Here's where we get into something that I think is unique, and you probably haven't done anything like this before. I mentioned earlier that we have this gap between understanding the principles and being able to build them. And so in this course, the whole goal is to help you apply the philosophy, the principles that you've been learning to actually building interactions in your authoring software. And we'll do that by a method that we call brain teasers. And these are activities, they're practice activities for you that will allow you to do some of that problem solving. And what will happen is we'll present a finished interaction to you, but you'll only see what the learner will see, not how it was built. So you'll be able to interact with it, see what it's made of, see what you can do with it. And then your job is to create that interaction in the software, whether it's Storyline or Captivate, using those techniques that we've learned in previous sessions. And we've used this approach in past training courses, and it has been really successful. So these brain teaser exercises are what's going to help you make that leap from envisioning an interaction to actually building it in your authoring tool. There's a screenshot of an example of a finished interaction. And we might give that to you, let you interact with it, and then say, okay, here are your graphic assets, here's everything you need, now build it.
Yeah, it's just so much fun in class to be working in that environment. And this is a session that we'll be doing online virtually, so that we'll be working in smaller chunks, so we'll be able to master smaller bits of content and then spend time on the brain teasers between sessions and come back. And so I think it's an ideal way to implement this really powerful way of growing in your software skills. So then our third class in this first program is designing for e-learning. And this is also some virtual sessions that are going to be spaced out over a few weeks, but it really is sort of going beyond the very fundamentals of instructional design and thinking about more elaborate ways in which you can just completely change the effectiveness of what we're doing. So looking at specific techniques for presenting information, for not presenting information actually is one of the things we talk about. One of the big failures is telling too much and not allowing learners to figure things out for themselves. And so all of issues of writing for interactivity. So often people think that writing for interactivity is like writing a textbook, and it really couldn't be more different than that. It's like writing stories. It's really writing for interest, but combining that with accuracy and relevance. And so there's some very specific skills that we'll work on. And then specifically how to make sure that what we are doing online, what your learners are doing, are going to transfer to the workplace. And so issues of memory and transfer, and there's a special technique that we've worked on and has amazing power, and it isn't even that complicated, and yet it doesn't get done often enough, is what we call the corrective feedback paradigm, which is just having some intelligence about how you decide what order and how the frequency with which you drill learners and practice on errors that they've made. And so it's going to be all those kind of really powerful ideas to apply to the interactivity that we've already figured out. And then finally, we're going to, after we've completed all that, create this wonderful opportunity of a capstone project. And it is a way that you're going to be able to work on a project that means something to you, but also get the kind of coaching you'd get if you were working in a real, almost apprentice sort of environment, that you will be paired with instructors from the academy to really evaluate and work on those issues. Nan, do you want to talk a bit more about this?
Yes, thanks. It's here again is something that I think is a unique offering through the academy, to really be able to get one-on-one assistance, some feedback, and some guidance from an expert on the thing that you're trying to build, not just on generalities, not just on principles, but actually looking at what you've designed and what you've built, how to make it better, how you might approach the next thing. And I think that our faculty in the academy are going to be really wonderful resources for you in doing this kind of coaching and feedback. It's going to be really helpful.
Yeah, and I think what's going to be really interesting is our rubric for evaluating these. That, you know, when I was getting my instructional design degree and any kind of projects, it was more a measure of, did you get something done? Well, there's value in that, but really what we want to make sure is that you're doing the right thing. And so we really want to be focusing on how well does it satisfy these components of CCAF, making sure, is it really relevant to the learner? How are you establishing goals and criteria for success? How are you using actions to really create compelling, memorable experiences? And finally, really using consequences and providing feedback in a way that transforms behavior rather than just judges of learners' performance. And so it's going to be a very rich environment to really combining everything we've talked about. You know, how can you build something? How can you come up with the idea? How can you make sure that it's instructionally valid? And so I think that package is something we're very excited about putting out there. It's something we've been doing more casually for many years, and the opportunity to make it a formal certification process to help people get credentials as they develop these skills, I think is a really great possibility. We also have other ways to add credibility. Ellen, do you want to talk a bit about this aspect of the digital credentials?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Ethan. So you're seeing the name Credly alongside the digital credential here on this particular slide. And Allen Interactions is a value-added reseller for Credly. And Allen Interactions has been doing a lot of work helping organizations design their digital credentialing strategies. And the Allen Academy will leverage the power of that for your benefit. So what I'm showing on the screen here right now is something that we think is really interesting. At the end of the program through the Allen Academy, you will have built something that you can share with your employer that does show a real tangible difference in the types of things that e-learning can do. It's something that will help you stand apart from the rest of the field. But we also want that experience to be something that's portable. So, when you create the experience that you're going to be working on for your capstone, that will be for a specific set of learners for a specific performance problem. We want to also give you something that's portable that you can really add to your professional development. And that's the digital credential piece. So when you complete the Allen Academy program, you will earn a credential on the Credly platform. And digital credentials, if you're not very familiar with them, they allow you to share really rich data of what you have achieved to earn that credential with people on a variety of platforms. So the digital credential that you will learn upon completing the program through Credly, it's verified, and it's something you can add to your LinkedIn profile. It's linked back to evidence that these are the things you were able to accomplish in earning that credential. So it's a really important experience that we want to be able to offer to students of the Allen Academy. It's really more than just saying, I attended, but it's saying that you really achieved something meaningful, and we want you to be able to display that credential to ensure that you can communicate that as best as possible.
Well, thanks,
Okay.
Ellen.
Yeah.
So hopefully,
you're welcome, Ethan.
Yeah. Well, so hopefully this has piqued your interest. And I would just want to add for sure that we've been talking about just the first offering, which is the e-learning, the instructional design and development certificate. But that's just the first of many. With our 4 colleges, we will have other programs coming out very soon in those other areas that are more for the management aspect of creating an effective training program. How to design games, how to be more intelligent and effective in evaluating the impact of what we've done. So those are still there, and I just want to make sure that we don't lose track of that, in that our focus was on this very first design-oriented program. But if you are interested, we really encourage you to go to allenacademy.com to get more information and pre-register for that first cohort. As I said, we're starting out in September. The registration is going to be open fully next week, and the whole project comes at a price of $49.95, which I think we've done a lot of research and is really competitive with alternatives, and is really of huge value when you consider the additional sort of experiences that this and unique experiences that the Academy offers. And so those other academies are coming soon. And so, Ellen, if we have some questions, we could spend the last few minutes here having that dialogue.
Sure, thanks, Ethan. Yes, just to recap quickly, our registration will officially open next week. If you're ready to sign up and you're interested in getting that process started, just definitely let us know. You can go to allenacademy.com to sign up for updates or to request a contact, and we can get you started on the registration process. So we've reached our half-an-hour presentation point. I know there are some questions that came through in chat that we didn't get answered, potentially from some confusion with Zoom. We're going to take the next 15-20 minutes to answer any more questions you might have. So we'll hang around for a while. Feel free to stick with us, and if you have more questions or if you didn't get your question answered, we'll get to those right now. All right, so I want to see, right now we see Gemma asked, aside from the digital credentialing aspect, what are some other reasons, justifications why I should invest in this program? For example, how could I pitch this program to a supervisor who is not in the design field and would probably be shocked by the price tag? That's a really good question. Michael, Ethan, and Nan, would you like to speak to that one?
Well, I'll take a first shot. There are a lot of programs out there, but we find many of the graduates of those programs still feeling that they are lacking in skills, and the work that they're doing is not even satisfying to them, let alone satisfying to learners. And in many aspects and situations, people don't measure the impact at all. And so the whole program is a loss. It's a loss to the organization, it's a loss to learners, and eventually it builds up to a loss of the people who are developing that training. So one of the things I'm proudest of is if you walk in our lobby, you can just be overwhelmed with all of the awards that our studios have earned from the work that they've done with our client organizations. And I would like everybody to be doing work at that level. As I mentioned earlier, it's not really that hard, but the work that is done through these methods that we're going to share as openly as anybody can share anything is categorically different from what you see as typical e-learning or training of any kind, and the impact is dramatically greater. That's why this is such a tiny investment. If it were $50,000, it would still be worth it to an organization because they're not wasting everybody's time. They're not putting out training that, well, in some organizations, people pay the receptionist to take their training for them because it's so boring that they can't even work through it, and so forth. The learning experiences that come from these approaches are anything but boring. They are captivating and really result in development of skills that are measurable and meaningful to an organization. So one of the things you can do is you can demonstrate, in fact, you could do that now. You could go to our website and look at some of the demos on there and show those to your boss or whoever the budget maker is, decision maker, and say, I will be able to develop that level of learning experience for our organization if you just spend a little bit of money and give me some time to develop those skills. So I don't think it's going to be a hard pitch at all. Compared to other prices, the $5,000 is considerably less than you would end up paying at other programs, and yet in this one, you get a personal coach and mentor that's going to help you through, somebody who is a recognized professional in the field. So you get a whole lot more for the money. And as I say, the $5,000 is nothing compared to the cost of wasted time in poor learning programs. So it's essentially free if you look at it.
Yeah, and just to reinforce one really critical thing that Michael said that I think differentiates the Academy from some other options is that our faculty are doing this daily. We're engaged in developing e-learning all the time, and so it's a perspective, a working perspective rather than a theoretical or academic perspective. And so the kinds of things we're going to talk about are things that we've tried and have worked in actual corporations. And that's what's so critical always to us, is that if we're going to do something, it needs to have real practical relevance. And that's what we're really hoping that we're going to have the chance to relay through these experiences.
Okay, great responses. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Ethan. Another question from the group. Are there plans to create a community of practice? So I can speak to that for a moment. I mean, I think one of the key things, we actually answered a question about cohort size earlier. One of the key ways that we want to kind of jumpstart that community of practice is to keep the cohort size small, which might seem counterintuitive, but in keeping the cohort size around 10, we were hoping that participants will really get to know the people that they're going through the coursework with and build some really lasting professional connections and relationships. So that's one piece of it. As far as the longer vision, what do we think about community as a practice in the future?
Well, you may, we're using academic terminology, colleges and academy and everything, and I would like us to actually extend that even further and have the concept of an alumni association. That I think there's something about people who have really understood what Michael Allen's vision is, and it's transformative. And I think it will naturally evolve such a thing, but I think we would love to be able to facilitate a way to create a community of people who are actively involved in the profession. And I don't know, we've often had thoughts of user conferences and whatnot. I think it's early to say definite plans, but we certainly want this academy to have a presence in the industry, and that can really be facilitated well by making sure that we create a community around that.
Another question.
Okay, another question. We had a question about the ATD e-learning instructional design certificate program. So just to kind of recap for everyone, for many years, Allen Interactions was a leading instructor and instructing organization for the ATD e-learning instructional design certificate program. So what's the difference between that certificate program and the program we outlined as the first one for the Allen Academy?
Well, if I can talk to that, I will say, one of the, our thinking was really at the root of that course, but we had a chance to, that course was developed probably 12, 15 years ago. And so we really are restructuring and coming up with a fresh approach to those content ideas based on changes that have happened in technology and what we know about learning. But also the fact that this is integrated into a sequence that really builds to a place that ends up with real skills, I think is a world of difference. I mean, I would say the biggest frustration of teaching those courses for all the years I did was knowing that we were leaving the learners anticipating what they should be able to do, but knowing that their skill, tool knowledge often, and lack of some supervised practice really was going to be in the way of most of the learners being able to make that leap from ideas to practice. And so this whole, the idea of the whole program is central to this experience, is that we're not just delivering tidbits of information, we're really committed to creating a path that's going to move you from a new designer to somebody who has expertise.
Right. And I would add to that Ethan and I have been teaching those ATD courses for years, and some of the frustration of our students has been the seed that has started some of the ways that we've designed these courses in the Academy. We're trying to address those things that those ATD courses lacked, which is the hands-on opportunities to practice. We've told you a lot of ideas, we've shown you a lot of things in the classes, and then we expect you to just go off and apply things, be able to use it on your own. And that's really difficult for most people. And so we want to help you make that leap and guide you through some practice activities. Those are the brain teasers I mentioned, that are going to give you the opportunities to apply what you've learned so that you can bring it into your work environment, have the skill to actually use your authoring tool to implement these great ideas for designing interactions. And I think that's one of the big strengths of these courses that we've been talking about today.
So Moses just asked a question about the delivery method. Just to clarify, we are offering the first program, the first course in the first program as part of the pre-conference sessions for TechLearn, which is happening in September in New Orleans. The majority of the courses are going to be conducted via Zoom, and the reason that we've done that is because we want to be able to provide a spaced experience. You're going to be doing some group work, and then you're also going to be doing some application work. And having a two-day session, we felt didn't really allow for the type of application that Nan was just describing. We don't want to just, have a two-day really fun conference. We want to have fun. We want to work together. We want to make sure that what you learn in the Academy courses are things that you can actually apply, and that you get practice applying them, and that you get mentorship while you're applying them. So having the Academy courses taught via Zoom more remotely primarily is a good way of supporting that experience. Now, to the extent that some people like attending certain courses in person, and so we are looking at having some courses offered at some other locations, but the majority of the Academy coursework will be online.
So do we have any more questions? Or?
We do. We have a question about XAPI. Are we planning on delving into XAPI at all? And we have another question after that. XAPI.
Yeah, we will probably, I would say dealing with that in depth is probably going to be reserved more for a later program rather than this introductory one. But we will talk about some of the issues in general. But this first course is more generalist in its focus on some of the underlying technologies, and just in terms of coordinating with other LMSs and other delivery platforms and so forth. There's a host of information that we have that we are planning to structure into some elective courses in the future that we would add to enhance the program.
Thanks, Ethan. Okay, another question. Nan answered this directly, but we can talk about it for a brief period. Gemma works for a government organization, and like many organizations, has to follow certain accessibility guidelines and requirements. So will the Academy's curriculum include any practice or coaching on designing with accessibility in mind? Great question.
And I responded with a yes, because it's one of those issues that we all have to deal with, whether you're working with a government organization or not. We have to think about those characteristics of our learners. And so we will definitely be looking at ways to ensure that the accessibility of the e-learning does meet those requirements of the American with Disabilities Act.
For me, that's really one of the toughest design challenges there is, how to satisfy that, and also not to sacrifice the instructional part of interactivity and use of media and so forth. So it is certainly a topic that we all struggle with, and is one that we will really spend some time addressing in the curriculum.
Okay, another question. I think we'll do 2 or 3 more questions, and then we'll call it a day. We had a question about how long the entire level 1 certification program is. And so I think we had a slide that briefly mentions how long the 3rd course would be. Can we speak roughly to how long the whole program would be with all 4 courses in mind? Nan, Ethan, can you speak to that one?
Oh dear, I don't have that spreadsheet in front of me, but
Sure.
Roughly the software course is roughly about the same. Is that about 2-hour sessions or 1-hour sessions spread over several weeks, about 6 to 8 sessions for that. And so I would, Nan, do you remember what we said? I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the additive nature of it, but it was.
I don't. You're asking me to add up something that I don't recall either.
Yeah. But
Okay,
Each,
let's get back to you on that question.
yeah, and partly I think there's going to be an individualized nature of the practicum. To exactly how the scheduling works on that will be a little bit individualized as each project comes about. But we were expecting that like about a 3-month window on a quick pass, if you wanted to do it rapidly, it might be possible.
Okay, yeah, and just Ethan, to kind of follow up on that and to give some more specific information, we'll be publishing a calendar of coursework for the near future when we open up registration next week. So if you're interested in getting notified when those are available, so you can go look at the calendar and see what works for you, you can go to allenacademy.com and sign up for those notifications. Okay, I think last question for the.
I might just chime in on that a little bit.
Please.
That we just have a few of the faculty members online today, and so we don't have everybody online that is developing other pieces of the curriculum, and so I haven't been able to text fast enough to get answers to some of those questions, but we will be, as Ellen said, we will have much more information coming online, and it'll just keep getting updated very regularly now as all of this becomes solidified.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Dr. Allen. Okay, so last question, I think this is a recap from something that we touched on earlier, but question was, can we use some of our course materials for our portfolio?
Absolutely, yes. In fact, we will promote that, and we think that this work will enhance your ability to get better positions, to get better pay, to get more recognition, to be able to do more of the things that you really want to do, because you've got the professional skills to take on those roles of leadership if you want to take on leadership and help an organization plot their path, or become a head designer or a head of evaluation or whatever. So this really should open up career paths for many people who get their credentials from this program.
All right, well, thanks again, everybody. Thanks, everyone, for joining. We're out of time today. Again, we're going to be opening up registration next week, so take a look at the allenacademy.com and sign up for notifications. And if you're interested in getting the registration process started early, there's an option to sign up for some direct contact on that website. So thanks again to all of our panelists today, to Dr. Michael Allen, to Ethan Edwards, Dr. Nan Thornton, and thanks to my fellow tech crew, Christine Aller and Rich Peterson, and have them on the back end. Thanks to everybody. Hope to hear from you soon, and have a great day.
And thanks to you, Ellen. You need to mention your thanks. Sorry. So thank you for everything.
Okay, sure. You're welcome. Thanks again. I'll talk to you later. Bye.